which means it's either going to go really well and be quite brief, or it's going to be horribly painful, which will be entertaining for you. Yeah, I basically have a short demo about Ember Twiddle. Who has ever used this? Yay. So yeah, that's growth. Who has ever heard of it? It's basically JS bin for Ember apps. I started working on this with Alex Peller. Alex Peller first created a demo of this, I think over a year ago. And then half a year ago or something like that, we pinned it out and published it on embertwiddle.com. So you can basically play around with Ember CLI style apps in the browser, which is not doable in JS bin or JS Fiddle or whatever. But there was one, it's live for a while now, but there's one thing that is missing, which is really annoying, and that's the support for Ember add-ons. Which is also a little tricky, because to use an Ember add-on, you actually have to create an Ember app on the command line, and then install the add-on using npm, and then run a build, and then you can try out the add-on. Which is not something that is very straightforward. I mean, that takes a while to do. Who is using add-ons in their Ember apps? I assume, yes. I assume that. So one of the things when working on Ember Twiddle we were thinking about was it would be really nice if you could easily demo an add-on in the browser. And it would also be really helpful to demonstrate issues you have with add-ons, which happens quite often if you work with add-ons a lot, and especially if you upgrade your Ember version or whatever. So I started working on figuring out how the hell to get add-ons, hello, yeah, that happens when I don't move my mouse. I started thinking, how do we get add-ons into the browser? And it's, again, because you have to build them, it's quite tricky. But nevertheless, I tried anyway, and I started using AWS Lambda. Who has ever used that? It's basically serverless architecture from Amazon. So you can just upload JavaScript code, and they will run it somewhere. You don't know where, and you don't have to care. Another service they have is called API Gateway. It's a way to build APIs, again, without a server. So you just can use, I think, Swagger, or you can use their online editor to say, if this URL is hit, run this Lambda function, and then you can actually create a web app without having to maintain servers, which is nice. So what I did is I created some stuff in Lambda, and I created some stuff in API Gateway, and I would like to demo that for you now. So I have an app in Twiddle here. This will work, so I can do, I can edit something here, and that should basically more or less live update, hopefully. Yes. So, but now if I want to test something, like say I create a link here, link to index, link to home. So I created a link, you will know this. I'm already on home, so this link is pretty redundant. And I would like to point out that this link is very redundant. So I would like to give the link a tooltip. For example, using Ember tooltips. Who's ever used Ember tooltips? Cool. Works reasonably well. We use it quite a lot. There is actually a way to, yeah, here. And just say tooltip content is this readable, by the way? No. Okay, so I can basically say tooltip content is something. This is readable, right? I can maybe, yeah, fuck it. So. So I've now assigned a tooltip content attribute to the link, but if I hover this, meh, nothing, because of course the add-on is not installed. In Ember Twiddle you have something called Twiddle.json, which is basically a merger of package.json and bower.json. You can already set dependencies in your Twiddle, but they have to be either AMD modules or plain JavaScript. You cannot say, give me this add-on. So I've created a new key, which is called Add-ons. Yes. I thought, why not? So let's see if this will work. If you look at the console, it actually says now the add-on Ember tooltip is currently building. I actually wanted to call it Ember tooltips because this is not going to work, I think. So we have to wait some more. Okay, so tooltips is currently building, and I can show you there's this really weird URL here. I don't know if you see it, which is a really long Amazon URL. That's actually the URL to API Gateway. And if I visit that URL, it will give back, it will actually redirect to S3. I cannot zoom into the address bar, but it's an S3 URL with an Ember version, an add-on version, and add-on name. And it basically says, well, this add-on is currently building. And then I refresh, and now it says it's built, and it gives back a URL for the JavaScript for the add-on and for the CSS for the add-on. And then if I go back to my Twiddle, which was here, and I reload it because I have not implemented reloading logic, of course. Still loading. There we go. So this is working out reasonably well. There are, of course, some concerns with this magic. First of all, my AWS bill. Lambda charges by the millisecond, and building an add-on takes about 20 seconds. So that's quite a lot of milliseconds. But there's a free tier, and I'm sort of doing some math, and basically I calculated that I think I can build 1,000 add-on versions per month for free. And of course they are cached. So once one add-on version is built, it's stored in S3. Now if I would reload this add-on, so I do this again, it would just hit S3 straight away, and it would not try building the same add-on again, of course. It's just stored as a file in S3. I can even show you that. So here we have S3, we have Ember tooltips, we have the version, and then we have add-on.js and add-on.css. So this is not going to be rebuilt every time, of course, because that would be ridiculous. So we have the AWS bill issue, which is something I'm figuring out how bad that's going to be.
Just disable latest.
No, latest is actually, it doesn't really matter, because the API you hit at first, it resolves the version using NPM, which doesn't take any, it takes hardly any time at all.
I mean, if you require a specific function, you don't get all the new...
Yeah, true. Yeah, but theoretically, you shouldn't have too many people using latest, only to try out probably. But for reproducing bugs, you always need a fixed version, so we'll see what happens.
Just write a scraper that builds a buttload of the most used add-ons.
Yeah, that was my worry.
My S3 prematurely.
My main worry was actually that someone would do that. So I sort of
No, but if you do it and you don't use Lambda, but you use your own PC for it and you just put them on S3, then
that's possible. That's definitely possible. We can theoretically, it's really easy to pre-build a lot of these add-ons up front.
You can scrape the versions from Ember.addons.com. It always has the latest, so you could when one
auto refresh. yeah, that's definitely. So I mean, the great thing is that when I started doing this, I was sort of thinking this is going to be really impossible. Now it's actually to the point where we have something working. There are some things which are not completely working yet. For example, Bower dependencies don't really work yet. So only dependencies where everything comes from NPM and CSS works at this point, but getting Bower to work is not going to be a huge challenge because I've already got Ember CLI running somewhere in the Amazon cloud, and getting Bower to run as well won't be that much of a pickle, I think, because npm also already works. Yeah, so there's a pull request already open at Ember Twiddle. I'm going to do some more work on the back end, then we're going to polish the UI a little bit so you actually see that an add-on is building. You don't just have to refresh randomly at random intervals. And then we're going to publish this, and I hope to actually get this live before EmberCon, so people can actually start using Twiddle as well to play around with add-ons and demonstrate issues you have, because that's the main reason we worked on this. And Guaraf in New York is actually working a lot on Twiddle, which is really awesome. Is to make it really easy to work with the Ember ecosystem. So try it out. If you run into issues, definitely let us know. And if you have any questions, let me know.